I can't think. What am I supposed to?
I like it. Do you know the name of that band? No?
I have no idea. I found the clip online and I'm like, this is perfect. And I used it. There's probably a copyright claim, but who knows?
Yeah, I think there's a certain distance, a length of time you can play something before it becomes.
I think it's actually, you're right. I think it's like
It gets
30 seconds.
That's
or
how
something like that.
Jay-Z was able to get away with sampling all those songs. Some he had to pay for, but I think there's a 30-second rule of if I nick your song and play it. I don't know. I could be wrong on the number, but I know there's a time limit of how much of the song you can steal before it becomes. All right, you got
Good. So we own it.
Yeah, it's ours now. So
That's it.
That's the MANxiety show band.
That's it. Wait for the live show. We're going to have them in the corner over there.
Yeah, can you imagine just bass players?
This is the one guy saying it. I can't think.
You know, we haven't done. Welcome everybody, by the way, to the MANxiety show. Mick Thomas and
Corey Brooks.
I said that almost like I forgot your name.
Yeah,
but I was
you
kind
did.
of like,
It's okay.
I was going to you for you to introduce yourself.
I don't matter. I'm here for you.
No. It's us. And but we stopped giving out. We're on a roll though. We're doing consistency is back based on COVID
consistency is
and
back.
being messed up with traveling and stuff. We keep forgetting to give out the email address for people. I mean, our Instagram if people want to send messages.
So it's
for topics
at I Have MANxiety on Instagram. Add it, follow it, send us messages, send us topics, whatever you guys want us to discuss.
Experiences.
The email is email us at ihavemanxiety.com, which we actually did get a couple emails in and we never addressed it on here. And I feel bad for those people that did. We did read through them. I know we didn't respond because we wanted to talk about them on the podcast, and we never got to it.
All right, we gotta know what those are like.
Yeah, we gotta review them after the show, and we'll
hope it's not too late for some people.
I don't think it's never too late. No, it's not. It's not too late. But we did appreciate I appreciated the feedback. Mick didn't read them yet. I did. So
yeah, thank you so much for that. Yeah, a lot of people are reaching out to me privately about the show, and for that I appreciate. But send us on YouTube. Where are we on the YouTube? Because someone on my Cheaper Than Therapy podcast, where I always mention the show.
Yeah,
someone put in my link last week's episode. They were saying, where can I find a link to your other show? And
so I put it on the Sticks and Stone Network YouTube, and I'm supposed to be putting. Cheers, thank you.
Network.
Still trying to build it here, but we need, and we're going to start adding it to yours.
Okay.
All right.
On my page.
It's going to be on your page, and then we're going to make a separate I Have MANxiety page as well.
Right.
We'll just get it out there.
But anyway, thanks everybody for the feedback and for sticking in there. So we do appreciate that.
Yeah, 100%.
Today's episode, we were going to talk about. I just want to check the old time there. We're going to talk about bullying.
Yes.
We kept It's funny that every episode we just accidentally tease, and then it just happens to be the next week. We don't sit down like, okay, and then in February,
no, we don't.
We're going to get we'll talk about addiction in July. We don't have a calendar. We don't have a set schedule.
The topics kind of have come by accident during our previous episodes.
Based on I guess bullying is kind of a sensitive topic for everybody.
Yeah.
In relation to number one, I think everybody has experienced bullying in some way, and I think it's also something to be looked at as in how do you deal with it, right? Because there's that old school way that I know a bunch of people will talk to, just go fucking punch him in the, right? And then there's the, turn the other cheek type of way. And then there's just squeal.
Yeah.
When I say by squeal, I mean, I'm talking in the layperson. So there's are there right or wrong ways? I mean, but first of all, like bullying comes from every animals bully. Do you know what I mean? Like animals bully. It's not just, so it goes from childhood to, from you're a toddler, you go to school, you go to college. If you do, you go to your job. Like some people are married to bullies that they don't, and it's just an awful experience for people to, and the messed up thing about it is that bullies don't know they're bullies. Right. That's the problem. That's one of the biggest problems. It's like, it's weird because when I go online, and not to sidestep, is when I go online and I see like everyone on like TikTok especially, right? If you happen to be down, the algorithm sends me down all mental health pages. So you'll talk about narcissists, right? And everybody on there, I'm talking about counselors, I'm talking about therapists, psychologists, and they're all shitting on narcissist, right?
Mhm.
And I always say, and I feel like I'm alone. I found one person when I put a comment up, kind of got my back because he was a narcissist and he identified as being a narcissist. And
Wow, I've never heard of that before. That's pretty.
But it's a mental disorder. Nobody wants to help. Like, nobody gives any sympathy to a narcissist.
No, they don't. Me incled.
Right?
You know.
Yeah. Again, and I understand.
Why I love having these conversations with you, because
and I
they
understand
open my mind to a whole new side of things.
I don't know if I would like sympathize with it, but I may understand more than sympathize. Like I may go like, it took me years to go like, that person is just all right. That person's a narcissistic person. Here's how I'm going to deal with it. But it's just weird. It's amazing what we just won't go. No. And instead of going like knowing that narcissism is a mental disorder, it's an illness. And yet nobody, because they themselves don't know they need help. They feel they don't want help. Not as in like when you suffer from depression, I feel like I don't deserve help.
Right.
A narcissistic person is like, I don't need help. What's wrong with you? I'm fine. So, but I just think people don't have any sympathy. And I know that maybe sympathy is the wrong word, maybe an understanding that it's a mental illness. So I think, and so the same with a bully doesn't realize they're a bully.
Yeah.
So if you were to go back, I mean, you don't have to give examples if you don't want to, but where have you in your life seen like bullying?
So bullying is actually a personal thing that I went through myself. And so we moved around a lot, right? Okay. My mother always moved around a lot. We moved from school to school to school to school. So this is about 5 or 6 times. I was always a new kid.
Is that now you moved around a lot on
Long Island? On Long Island, yep.
You're not from state to state.
No, so I was usually always the new kid, on the heavier side.
Right.
And some of these schools we went to, the kids are, it started in, bullying for me started in 4th grade.
How old are you in 4th grade?
How old are you in 4th grade? 5, 6,
when people say
7,
grades, I always
9,
kind of shy.
9.
I always have to ask that because I don't have that.
I gotta say 9.
Okay. If
I'm not mistaken. I had 2 kids in the one school that I went to. They were just calling me names, calling me this, calling me that. But as fucked up as it is, it's like I hung around them. Like I would take the abuse from both of them because I was the new kid, and I felt accepted. Because when you're in, 4th grade, a lot of kids aren't coming up to be friends and stuff. They don't get that. I guess maybe I'm wrong.
They don't see a guy from across the way,
right?
Going,
let's make him feel comfortable.
He's a sticker book or whatever, or whatever it is, like a wrestling magazine. They're like, I could be friends with that kid. They just get that's him over there.
Exactly. So these kids, they started saying shit to me, calling me this, calling me that, and it sucked. Like deep down inside, it hurt. It hurt. I'd go home. I wouldn't tell my mother, my father, and I never told them anything. I always kept it inside because it's just something. It was hard for me to tell.
Yeah. There's shame with it.
There's shame with it. So every day I'd go, I don't want to say the names they were calling me, but they were offensive names. And I would just hang around them because I'm like, these are the only 2 kids that want to hang out with me. You know what I mean? But they really just want to hang out with me to abuse me.
Right.
Which I've actually ran into one of them recently. And I believe there was karma there because of the position that I'm in and the position he's in. But
how did you feel when you ran into him?
I brought a lot of bad memories back.
Yeah.
It brought back like, I seen him and it was just like, I felt like I was about to be bullied again.
You felt it in your gut?
Felt it in my gut. Isn't that fucked up?
No, man.
It's weird.
It's trauma.
And he approached me and he was like, hey, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. Like very nice about it, but in the back of my head, I'm like, you motherfucker, you have no idea how I've felt. And then we moved again.
And that's over 2 decades ago. And
yeah.
It
still sticks with you. And that's like, I have my son, it's like the one thing I'm teaching him, is to always like, I never want to get him to get involved in things he shouldn't get involved in,
right?
Like any altercations, but I want to teach him to kind of stick up for people and to not bully himself, because bullying is definitely passed down from the parents, without a doubt.
Yeah.
If you have an argument against that, please.
No, but, it's not. It's not.
Because that kid's getting bullied at home himself, or he's watching his mother get bullied, or the mother's bullying the father. There's bullying going on where he thinks this is how you're supposed to treat people, and he's just angry at what's going on in his own life, But in 4th grade, I'm not thinking that, And then we moved again, and it was the same thing again. Like I was out of the group. I was always out of the group. This is like, and that's one thing I don't want to do with him is move from school to school to school because it's hard.
Of course.
It's hard. And so every school that we moved to was always the group of kids that had established their friendship from when they were younger and they went there. So same thing again. And it was one kid that always sat, this was even in my senior year. my senior year, I believe it was. No, was it senior or no, I'm sorry. It was ninth grade, because after that, things did get better for myself. But ninth grade was another thing of bullying, but it was like you couldn't even go fight the one kid because it wasn't one kid. It was a whole group of kids.
Right.
You know? And I remember one kid that was part of that group that always sat with me at the lunch table in the cafeteria. Oh, just him, by himself, like would sit with me. So, and then he ended up, unfortunately, passing away from an overdose. So that actually hit me when I read that story, because I'm like, this kid doesn't deserve that.
Yeah.
You know? But that was my, I guess, wow, it's hard to talk about this. I've never really talked about this with anybody, you know? That was my time with bullying, I guess you can say. It was never physical. It was emotional. Yeah. Which to me could be worse, because you can always go back and beat the kid's ass, you know? Mm-hmm. If that was the case. But when it's emotional, it hurts you more, to me. It damages you more. And did you ever have any more bullying when you went to your job, the workplace? The workplace? No. I never did, but I never did. Because I at that point, I've always learned who to get along with, how to get along with people, because being bullying and then being into a new school, you're always shy, you're always reserved, but you observe everybody and everything and what they do and all these different types of people. Yeah. And that stuck with me through my life. Yeah. You know, so you tend to, I'm always who I am, you know, but you tend to camouflage a little bit, mm-hmm. You know, sure. Because you want to then be accepted. Yeah. But never bullying in the workplace, ever. The weird thing with me is I was bullied a lot as a kid, around the same age, 9 or 10. When I was 10, it was one of the worst years. Yeah. One of the worst years of my life. I didn't know it when I look back on it, mm-hmm. and I talk about it now with my therapist, or I talk about it with my wife. I go, holy shit, that was when I was 10. Yeah. So like at 10, and we'll go into these in another episode. I don't want to have people driving, what the fuck did he just say? And you don't just say that and brush over that. But I had an incident with a scout leader, right? Where right. It falls under sexual abuse to a 10-year-old boy. Mm-hmm. Jeez. To me, yeah. I had a friend die in front of me when I was 10. Again, we'll come back to those in later episodes, because we will talk about those. Mm-hmm. And but I don't want people listening. No, they're plugs right now. People go, you don't just fucking brush over that like you're reading a menu. Yeah, that's something you really don't brush over. Yeah, yeah. And then of course what came with that was bullying. But to me, with bullying, it was physical. Mm-hmm. Not so much in the school I went to, but there was a bunch of like travelers, gypsies that lived up the lane from me. Okay. So when you think of gypsies, a lot of people in America at least think of like Peaky Blinders, because they're technically gypsies who settle down. Yeah, right? That gang, the Peaky Blinders. If you've ever watched it, mm-hmm. Great show. But it's really, if you look at the movie Snatch, where they live in caravans and that kind of stuff. So they lived up the lane, and I would have to go to the shop, to the store, which is like a 1.5 mile walk from my house. Maybe not even a mile. As a kid, it seems further, right? Okay. So I would have to walk there every Sunday to get the paper, a block of ice cream for dessert on a Sunday. It was the only time you got dessert. Mm-hmm. And every fucking day, I met these 3 brothers, the Connors, their name was. The 3 of them were Connors. And I remember just getting, like, every time, they never wanted to take your money. Right. They never did that. They just I remember just one day, and it's like when I tell my friends this, they laugh. And I don't know, man, I think it's just how I tell a story. Mm-hmm. People just laugh at it. But it's one of the most humiliating things. Like 2 of them I'm even laughing when I say it. It's not even nervous laughter. Everyone thinks just because you're a comedian that everything's funny. Even that. It's not even a nervous laughter. But I remember 2 of them held me, and the other guy like took off my shoe and beat the shit out of me with my shoe. And threw my shoe away. So I guarantee these people listening to this right now just laughing, right? And because just the thought of, and I remember like that was like the first experience. So I loved martial arts movies, karate movies, you know, Jean-Claude Van Damme when I was a kid, every Bruce Lee movie, all old Shaolin monk movies, all the old school kung fu movies, the dubbed ones. So I joined karate. But then what happens when you get to school and you're getting verbally bullied, which is the worst, I think, right? Because I could take physical pain. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, verbally right? Bullied verbally. Verbally abused, man, it's because you believe what they're saying. Yeah. You start to believe what they're saying, yeah, you do. You believe what you're saying, your self-worth is in the toilet. So now I was joined karate, and I got fucking good, and I got good fast. I was
coming home with trophies and medals. And this is long before everyone got one. Like you had to get through. I was fighting the under 12s. That's all it was.
Does karate still do that? Not to cut you off.
I don't know how.
Does everybody get you? You got to make your way through ranks, through belts, still,
through
right?
belts. Yeah,
everybody just gets a black belt.
Yeah, no. You used to go through. But like in divisions, in the way it was in Ireland, you had this up until this belt. Everybody was under this belt, under this age group. So I was under 12, up as far as green belt, and then you went from green belt to brown belt to black belt. But in between, you got a tip on your belt.
Okay.
And if you started off as a white belt, and then you got a green tip, second green tip, a third green tip, green belt, brown tip, second brown tip, third brown tip, brown belt, 3 black tips, a black belt. I mean, that's years, by the way. It's not like just get a tip, you're done.
Bet.
So I had become like a 3rd degree black belt.
Oh wow!
Right, in karate / kickboxing. But before that, I was a brown belt. Now brown belt is just as respected as black belt. You're just not there, right?
Right.
And I remember coming home like. So in my group of I was fighting, you're talking about like a what do you call them? Like when you look at the Super Bowl party, whatever.
Yep.
And it's like, the roster, not a roster, but trying to talk about it's fucking 10 teams on this side, 10 on that side, and then the bracket. Sorry. So I'm in a bracket of like 64 kids.
Wow.
Right. And I'm coming home and nobody's getting a medal. Nobody's getting a trophy unless you're 1, 2, or 3, first, second, or third. So I was coming home with medals, with trophies. Still terrified of these people at school.
Wow. Now what these kids did, is it them that kind of lit a match for you to start doing the kickboxing and the karate?
Nope, I just love them. I love martial arts movies.
So you did it because of the love of martial arts, not because you like these guys. Or
no, absolutely loved it. And I never looked at it as a form of defense. But even if I did, they had beat you down so much psychologically that you're winning medals and trophies, but you didn't believe you were good enough to beat this guy.
Right.
Because you're the oldest, right? So
yeah, I'm the oldest.
I have an older brother who I believe to this day could kick my ass. Now, if we got into the ring together, right? You've worked out with me before. If we got into the ring together, put on gloves.
Yeah.
I know I would beat him. But he would still... I'm still afraid of him because he's my older brother because of the fights, the physical fights.
Right. Any beatings you ever got in your life is...
The first beatings you got were from your brother, your older brother. That's what at least was for me. So psychologically, that's been planted in my head that my older brother is tougher than me. Right? When realistically, he might not be. We got in the ring. Honestly, I think I'd probably beat him. Sorry, Wayne. I would. But the psychological damage that gets done from that, because that's what they do, right? And to go back exactly what you said, right? It's something that they learn. They do and they don't, right? It's something that, the saying, hurt people. So there's something going on in their life that they are so low that they want to bring, instead of building themselves up, which they do not know how to do it. They want to bring you down as opposed to building themselves back up.
Right. It's easier that way to try to make you feel lower than them.
Right. So when we go back to what we were doing, right? You and I were close to the same age. So we came up in a generation of, like, my dad would say, like, when I came home, my dad would just go fucking take this hurl, which is probably our equivalent of a baseball bat. Go up there and fucking take their head. I'm like, I don't. And my dad would, you go up and you do, like, because you don't understand the psychological damage. Right. And the reason why my dad didn't understand the psychological damage, you don't understand the psychological damage. I didn't understand the psychological damage because they didn't start studying bullying until the late 80s.
Right.
So there's no studies done. Right. You can go back to the 30s and they can talk about sex. Yeah. They can study sex. They can study what makes a man and a woman tick in bed. They can talk about, like, you can go back as far as philosophers back. You can go way back hundreds of years to philosophers. They can study the mind. They can study, all of that. They started in the 80s because in Norway, three boys killed themselves and they all wrote a suicide note, and it was basically based on bullying.
Okay.
They couldn't take it anymore. They couldn't go to school. They came home and they were separate. They weren't friends. It wasn't a suicide pact. 3 people in that school, because of the same 5 or 6 bullies,
right?
They killed themselves. Not at the same time. Like I said, it wasn't a suicide pact.
Now, just to go on a side note, so were you the main target of these guys, or they were like beating everybody that came down that way?
I felt like I was, but when I was trying to think back about it, and I tried to think back a lot about things, and I think I like to think, not I like to think I was, but probably not. I've seen him pick on girls,
Right.
as in say, never physical, saying stuff to them. And then there was another kid in my class who was kind of who got the brunt of it a little bit too. And this is when we're like kids. But when I got to high school, it got worse. Right. It got worse. I got better at karate.
Yep.
And I still didn't have the confidence to fight back.
Wow.
Right. Until one day I'm coming home, I'm leaving school, and they're picking on my friend who is a good friend to this day still. I won't mention his name because it's kind of embarrassing. He was really overweight. And this guy, who I won't mention his name either, he was just insulting him for being big. And I didn't, not that I did, I guess, stick up for him, but not in the typical like hero way. I said, come on, man, just leave him alone. Because, I just felt, when you're around somebody that's getting shit on you, you think, oh, fuck, I feel so bad for this person.
Yep.
And I said something. He's like, what did you say? That's it, after school. And we were already in the last class. And I go, So we walk out of school, and these kids who were with him took my bag. You got to go. And I just turned around and I threw a punch. And to this day, I have a raised knuckle, the middle knuckle.
I could see it, yeah.
Because I hit him right in the forehead like an idiot, which is like hitting steel. It's the hardest part of the head. Someone said that the top of your skull is harder than the cables that hold up the San Francisco Bridge.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that's the top of your skull where that part meets.
Right.
Google that, people. Could be wrong. But so I broke my knuckle, and I was in a cast for like 3 weeks, I think it was. But then he came running at me, and I threw like all these things I learned in karate. Because again, I was starting to move over to kickboxing, which is kind of the same thing without katas and form and stuff. And I threw this fucking spinning kick and caught him right across the face. And he went back. And everybody, there's teachers broke it up. But like, I remember Father McDonald, he was a priest, just laughing at the window, like, because he knew this kid was a cunt, was like the worst bully. And he just watched what he thought was get his comeuppance.
Right.
And he loved it. So, but when I went home, I remember thinking, like, I never felt like a hero. I never felt that's how you deal with it now.
Right.
That's it. You just stand up to these bullies. I remember, like, my hand was broken. It was in a cast for 3 weeks, but I was able to talk my mother into let me stay home. All I had was the cast. I could have went back to school.
Because you were nervous that they would.
Yeah, man. I just didn't want to. And, and then I remember the first day he walked in and he threw his bag down in front of me. My first day back, he's like, after school, right? We'll finish this. I go, what, you going to fight a cripple? I think I said. I remember that. You're going to fight a cripple? And I held up my hand. I was only 14 at this time, probably. And he just started laughing. And then he never bothered me again.
Right.
But I was lucky, I was really, really lucky. But, for them to study that only in the 80s. So
I can't believe it was only in the 80s. This is like shocking.
Only
to
the
me,
80s, man. Bad haircuts, terrible music. That's when they started studying it.
Wow. So yeah, like with me, it would always start with one person, but then all his goonies or whoever around them would start to chime in too. You know what I mean? It felt like they needed to do it just because. But I took a lot out of that. I took good out of that. Like I know you knocked his ass out, and you're like, I still didn't feel. What I took from that is there's nothing anybody can ever say now today to ever make me feel like shit, to ever put me down anymore. There's nothing. It's very hard to get me angry emotionally now, because it's like I've been through it. You either let everything bother you, you know what I mean, or you just like, fuck it. There's nothing.
But the way you're talking about that now, right, is like you and people listening. It sounds like, when I know you're not saying this, so I'm not putting words in your mouth. It sounds like you came out better, stronger for it, which means like, hey man, because some people say, well, like, oh, you kind of, everyone should get bullied a little bit. It's like, but having said that,
yeah, I'm not saying get bullied,
because you want your son to be strong, but you don't want.
I don't want to get bullied. No, I never want him to go through it.
Yeah, you don't want him to live that lesson.
I'm just trying to say, if you've been through it and you still carry it, try to take the positive from it now. Like, say, you know what, those kids that bully, have you known any bully that's ever been so successful in life? Maybe they're out there, I'm sure, but I really don't.
Right.
I don't know. That's not a good.
In the workplace, those guys might be successful, because what will happen is you come in, let's say, talk about an office setting more than anything.
Right.
You and I are working together, and I'm the bully. Right now, all of a sudden, the bully doesn't walk in day one and start shitting on you. They slowly take a little piece from you to see how far they can push you. Right now, I'm not happy in my home life. This is the character, by the way.
Yep.
I'm not happy in my home life. I'm not where I want to be. I'm in debt. I'm just like, I'm not. I got the shit handed to me at at the gym, or maybe I get when I go play poker with my friends, I'm the butt of the jokes in the circle.
Right.
So I'm going to come to work and now. So now usually what happens at these places, in these work environments, is that you're going to quit before I will. Right? Like the bully never quits. The bully never goes, you know what, I bullied you so much.
Yeah.
I'm going to find a better job now. You're going to like, fuck it, it's not worth it. It's not worth me coming to work every day. So the bully usually stays around. And because he stays around, the bullied leave. The bullied leave. So now what happens? I stick around and I'm going to get promoted. So that's just what happens. And all of a sudden,
makes sense. Yeah.
Then this formula now that I've been following has been working this whole time. I'll just be a dick to people. I'll be a dick to people, and I'm going to bully. Because I got bullied when I used to work in supermarkets. If you look up like Tesco, which is one of the biggest companies in the world, supermarket chain, like it's equivalent of a Target.
Okay.
And I was with them. I was a trainee manager, then assistant manager, but and then I just said, fuck it. But when I was a trainee manager, I was working under this guy, and I'll say his name, Derek Lawler. Don't give a shit. Don't like you. And he was this guy who was just like, he was a good-looking guy. I mean, when you think about it, and he just would come in every morning, and the trainee manager always locked up the store, right? So think about Target. The trainee manager stays on with the late staff. The manager, assistant manager go home at whatever time to be with their family. The trainee manager stays around like an idiot. I'm sure they've changed the laws. Yeah. But I would do 70-hour weeks, like all that stuff. And then he would come in and literally walk up the aisle. So whenever I walk into a supermarket, that's where my PTSD is. When I walk into a supermarket and I would stand beside my wife and I'll see something like I don't know, what was the last time I did it on? Like I was in the seasoning for Chinese food. Okay. Whatever. Szechuan sauce, whatever.
International aisle.
But whatever you call it. And like I will see like a teriyaki sauce and the label is turned slightly. Like I'll walk by and I'll turn it out straight. Now I don't know if that's because this guy picked on me and made me feel like shit so much. Or is it because I want to help that guy? I don't know why I do it. I genuinely don't know why. Right. I it is a form of PTSD, but it's I laugh at it though too. Having said it, I want to say like, Jesus Christ, Mick, you're messed up. But there are people who get really destroyed from bullying, right? Because it follows you your whole life.
Yeah, they do it. I didn't mean to make it sound so soft because it's not. It's not at all. I'm just trying to explain like my experience and what
everyone is different.
Just got me out, but everybody's different.
But the PTSD of that is like I'll walk into a supermarket now and just because I remember him walking down the aisle belittling me. Right. You know, like you take your job. Really, like I'm responsible for the whole store, and like your job is to do the condiments. Right, his job is to do the toilet rolls. This other person's job is to pack the cereal. This other person to do fruit and veg. And I have to walk around those departments and make sure everything is perfect. Like I got to give some faith in Corey that he's going to do this job right. Yeah. And if you don't pull something that's like, that's the script. What do you think the customers are going to think? And then I'm like, right. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, he's right. Because my self-esteem is so shitty now. He's in a higher position. Right. So I'm assuming he's right. And then you watch the customer come in when the doors open the next morning because you're there when they open, and he just fucking grabs the teriyaki sauce, didn't even go.
Didn't even care.
Faced the wrong way. He doesn't give a shit. But I just remember, I remember, and the only way, I remember one day we would go up for breakfast then, right, in like the cafeteria, and he happened to be on the same breakfast as I did. Okay. And I remember just like everyone would joke and bust each other's chops, like the back store men, right, were just these hardy men that took in all the deliveries, just blue collar guys. Right. Like the butchers were just like smoke because you could smoke and say like, fuck this, and playing cards in the morning, like, check out the tits on this one in the newspaper or whatever. And just like hardy men, right? Right. Blue collar men. And that's how everyone talked to the table. And I remember I would just get this breakfast made up from that had like a cook, and I put too much ketchup on it. And he goes, what are you putting all that ketchup on it for? I was like, it's fine. I don't mind. He goes, that's disgusting though. I go, but it's all right though. He's like, but look at it. It's really disgusting. I go, are you the one eating it? And he goes, don't you ever talk, like in front of everybody, don't you ever talk to me. I was like, fuck it. And I remember my balls just shrunk. Right. And I was like, and that's the type of shit that like would kind of, that's how he got into your head. But the day that left me with him, I remember it well. We were walking around. He was shitting on what I did wrong in the store. Now, granted, some of those things may have been warranted, by the way. I'm not the perfect employee. Don't get me wrong. But to nitpick on shit like the teriyaki sauce was turned a little bit off center. Like that's how bad he was. But I remember thinking he was like, I'm going away this weekend to see my family, and this is wrong. And I just remembered my head thinking, visualizing. Remember how Eddie Murphy would like do the clumps? Yeah. Yep. And every family member looks the same. It's just him in a different costume. Right. And in my head, I was like, Imagine his whole family like just looked just like him. Like the nana was just like him with glasses, the sister was him and everything. And I'm just laughing as he's yelling at me. And I'm like, I don't need to take you serious at all. Like you're just a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, I mean, I still kind of, you know, I still kind of like if I was in an environment where I had a boss, you know, I still kind of takes me a while to loosen my, you know, even my manager now in comedy, like he's not my boss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like technically he works for me.
Okay.
Right? I don't mean it like that. My
Yep.
manager is the best in the business. I absolutely love him. But for the longest time, like
if the money's coming out of your account to him, then yeah.
But he would always say to me, like, call me once a week. I go, for what? Like just to shoot the shit. And weeks would go by and I wouldn't call him. He said, why don't you call me to say? Because I said, I don't want to bother you. Like you're the top of the food chain when it comes to stand-up comedy. Like you really are. Like if you ever name his roster, you're like, what if
it is insane, yeah.
What are you doing on that roster? You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't want to, you know how busy you are? You're producing like one of the top 10 sitcoms of all times. Like, I'm not gonna, hey man, and then I got, you know, like, and then when I became a citizen of the country, like nobody came with me for me to do my ceremony and that kind of stuff.
Really?
That was my own self-worth. I didn't let anybody go. My own self-worth was, I don't want people to come and stand there. You know, even though it was a big moment, and he was so mad at me. He really was so mad at me. But again, that's because in a way,
sounds like a great person. Like,
he really is. He's the best. And like he was good friends with Bob Saget, so I called him when Bob died.
Tell me,
I don't know Bob Saget. I kind of sounded like I did like someone when Bob died. But for the longest time, my manager, I looked like I worked for him, and again, I was like, I don't want to bother him. He's my like he's like because. But now I'm out of that. You know. But the thing about like because bullying happens everywhere.
Yeah.
There's three victims when it comes to bullying, right? There's the kid who's getting bullied, the bully himself, and then there's the bully and the receiver at the same time, right? So the bullied usually 20 years later now, right? Because the studies are kind of coming to where we are now, right? Since the 80s, we're 40 years in, 40 plus years in. The person who got bullied usually suffers from anxiety later on in his life, right? Usually suffers from anxiety, usually suffers from panic attacks, poor health, like really poor health to the point where, you know, it affects their immune system, right? So now they can catch a cold easier, that kind of stuff. So it messes that up. It messes so many things up from them. The bully usually ends up going on to suffer from depression, right? You know, and if you're going back to the bullied, you're 20% more likely to kill yourself, to commit suicide if you've been bullied.
Right.
The bully will also, because he bullied his whole life, will be also 20% likely to kill himself.
Wow.
Because he suffers from depression, because that's what got him there to begin with. So when you said earlier, and then there's the both guy, the guy who bullies and gets bullied at the same time, like the hierarchy.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Where
Of a
like,
group.
you might bully me and I'll go over here and I'll bully him, and that's the way it works. But to go back to what you said earlier, is like that's usually passed down. It's that what I said earlier, is it's hurt people. Now my son was dealing with a bully at school, and luckily the school are really good at kind of handling it. Now I have taught my son to throw punches, and I tell him if anyone ever puts their hand on you, you physically fight back. Yeah. Physically fight back. But to tell your kid to go in, I keep sidestepping this point I'm trying to make by that. I'm sorry, but I'll get back to it.
No.
But people keep telling their son or their daughter even to go up and you just fucking clock them in the head. Do you understand how low their self-esteem is? Like you're talking to a guy from me who was a gold medalist, trophies, belt winner.
I didn't know you were a gold medalist. I just know that now. That's
right.
Awesome.
Irish championships and that kind of stuff. So it's nothing to do with my physical ability.
Right.
Your just brain is wired to think I cannot get past this guy.
Exactly.
And that's what it is. So to tell your kid, listen, I get it. Like I tell my son, if anyone puts their hands on you, you fucking you swing.
And I tell him the same thing. I mean, he's 4. I have 2 incident reports from preschool.
Right.
One, I mean, none of them's ever appropriate. You never want to get an incident report from your kid, from preschool for 4 years old. One was, somebody, he built a thing and another kid came over and knocked it over. And then so he ended up hitting the kid, and then the kid hit him back,
Right.
But I talked to him about that. And he was like, well, I worked really hard on it, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
and the other one I don't need to get into, but he's a very good kid. He's very, he's always, he ended up like hurting a kid by accident. This is the second one with a pair of plastic pliers or whatever it was. But he was very remorseful after that and apologized and kept checking on the kid and all that stuff. Because I don't want him to become the bully,
Yeah.
And I'm far from treat him in any manner like that where he would. But yeah, you treat your kid, you don't want them to do that.
You definitely don't want your kids to go through it, to end up like that. So like some of the things that, when you have your kid, you teach them like, all right, I don't want to, don't let anyone ever put their hands on you, to be that kind of way. But it's easier said, like my dad, go just fucking take your head off. Like, what do you mean go? Like,
it's not easy. You're not dealing with it.
I was like, oh, that's all it would have taken, and I would have been like, they don't get that. And again, I don't blame my dad, of course, because
but it also gets to a point where it's like, and when and at that time where they would get into fights, right? They'd win some and lose some, but it's like they would still have everybody's respect.
Yeah,
I feel like if you got beat up in school now, it's like you don't, especially now with phones out. You're being broadcast to get in your, it's fucked up. It's very fucked up. But
and that's the worst too. And that's not even including, social media bullying, which is, even worse.
Even worse. But I was always like, I guess that's why, I was always afraid to get to the physical altercation part. That's why I just dealt with it, with them calling me these things. I never wanted to get to that point.
Well, in the back of your mind, you don't have what it takes to physically beat them, right?
Yep.
And go ahead, sorry.
And going through life too, I still carry, like, you're always just so nice to people. You know what I mean? Because you just want to be accepted.
Yeah.
All the time.
Right.
Versus, and that's, I guess, I carry that too.
Yeah, and then there's that old saying too, like don't mistake kindness for weakness.
Yeah.
And that we get caught in that stuff too, where we become.
I'll tell you to go fuck yourself.
We become very kind, and all of a sudden you're not only kind, but you're now a pushover, which again I've absolutely been guilty of.
Yeah.
But for you to go like back to a kid at school, the way forward, I think, is listen, because for some reason, see, here's the thing too. Going back again, see, I just want
no. It's a crazy topic.
Like to say to somebody like, oh, just go up and hit him, right? That's gonna work, right? And you think there's no psychological damage. Like, you know who Whitey Bulger was?
Yeah.
Right, yes. Whitey Bulger was one of the most. He was on the FBI's most wanted. I think he was number one before Bin Laden. Yeah, he was on there before Bin Laden. Once 9/11 happened, Bin Laden went top of the list. Whitey Bulger made a movie about him, which is apparently a bad movie, Black Mass or something.
Black Mass, yeah.
Johnny Depp. But Whitey Bulger I was obsessed with crime lords, gangsters, like the Cray brothers, played by Tom Hardy in the movie Legends. Like the governor, the gaffer, like all these books, Martin Cahill. I was obsessed with crime lords, Al Capone, as a kid. So Whitey Bulger was always on my radar, from reading books and stuff. Irish, of course, then it's an Irish guy, so you kind of have that, like, oh, let me listen to
us with the mob, right?
So Whitey Bulger was like one of the toughest guys in Boston, Massachusetts. And he always tells a story, and I don't know if it's in the movie, but some kid goes to school and he made fun of his shoes.
Okay.
Right? So he takes a bat at 8 or 9 years old, and he just pummels the kid.
Jesus.
He pummels this kid with a bat to the point where the kid's teeth came out, and just was 8 years old, right? And everyone's like, you see? And when you watch the movie or a documentary, I don't remember where that scene was, if it was in the movie or a documentary, you see, that's what you fucking do to bullies. Like, yeah, all right. Well, fast forward to when Whitey Bulger died, he always had his whole life, no matter how shitty his clothes were. Like, some of the best mobsters don't dress up. They don't spend their money on clothes, so casual. Especially a lot of the Irish ones. Like, I know the Italian mobsters are all suits, but the Irish mob are just like, no, we're just like normal. Simple. We don't want to spend. We don't want to stick out. We don't want to stick out. We don't want to get flash. But Whitey Bulger always had, for his whole life, the nicest shoes with the shittiest jeans, the shittiest t-shirt. Yeah, he stood up to that guy. He beat the shit out of him. Yep. Nobody ever fucked him again. But that guy, that comment that those kids made about his shoes, because he went to school probably with shitty shoes that day. You know, he grew up poor, Irish Catholic in Boston.
With him.
He always had nice shoes. So you can talk about how tough you are all you want to, man. But that fucked with Whitey Bulger till the day he died. That they found him with nice shoes.
Yeah, even though he isn't around anymore, he won.
Yeah,
he got into his head for his entire life.
These whole and that's the side effect. Yeah. That's the side effect of bullying on it. So
that's a wild story.
To tell your kid, go fucking just do it. Yeah. Look, the way I think from my opinion on it, again, I can't give advice on what you should do with your kids out there, especially and this, for yourselves. This part is for you too, as a grown man out there, for males out there and females, is build yourself up. Because what they do is they only go after, they don't go after I don't mean to say they go after the weak, but they will go after you, and they can't build themselves up, so it'll bring you down. So they'll find one thing. And I don't even think it's intentional. That's the thing when people think like bullies are smarter than they are, and they always find this one key. They go after this one key. They don't. They just happen to get lucky. They probably tried it on someone else, like 3 guys before they got to you.
Right.
And now you're guy number 4, and the one thing they said, and they go, got it.
Yep.
Like, I see this kid reacted different. So I think for your kids, for you as an adult out there in the workplace, if you're dealing with it, it's just we said this on the last podcast, we said it in the one before that, is just keep working on yourself, keep building yourself up, build up your own mental health. Listen, if you still have effects from bullying today, go talk to somebody. It's so important that you talk to somebody about it, because they'll teach you how to confront your fear. Confronting your fear is not always like, I'm afraid of heights, so jump out of a plane. That's the shittiest advice.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of heights. Yeah, you should jump out of a plane. No, you should not. Like, you should not. You should definitely, deal with this. Like, some therapists will give you like this kind of therapy where they say, close your eyes. Picture that guy in front of you. How do you feel? Are you stressed? And forget about him. But like, they will tell you to confront this person in your head with your eyes closed, and deal with it that way.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to give advice on. Hey,
No, it's hard to give advice now.
Right.
I mean, I'm talking about what the 90s here for me. What kids go through now is much tougher.
Yeah, because they have they have it on social media, and it's not like you got your ass kicked at school and someone came home and told you, and the kids now it's a viral video.
Exactly. And I was going to research some statistics about that stuff, and I didn't, because I just wanted to share. I wanted to be more personal, I guess, on this with that, because of mine. But I mean, if you researched it, it's insane.
Yeah, of course it is. But I also with what I will say is, if you are dealing with a kid that's going through bullying, and here's something that, again, it is public knowledge, but it's not common knowledge. Nobody fucking knows these little things. Like I said, there's therapists out there. I don't know if I said this on this show, if I said it on someone else's show, if I had I had a conversation with a friend of mine for lunch. We're talking about therapy. There's a lot of therapists out there that will not offer a sliding scale when they're supposed to.
What's that sliding scale like?
I mean, like, if let's say you want to come sit with me, like, I don't treat people one-on-one, by the way, but if you do want to reach out and want to chat one-on-one, I certainly can. But let's say I say to you, I charge you $150 an hour. Let's say I say that.
Oh, okay.
And you go, I can't afford that. I go, well, that's what I charge. Right? You're supposed to offer a sliding scale. Like, okay, well, let's work. You're supposed to be able to work with people.
Right. To try to match the...
They won't tell you that. Right? I've seen people go a sliding scale down to $5. Like, if you are in a halfway house or something, if you're coming back from your 12-step program, you come back right now, obviously you're in a halfway house, and you want to speak to a therapist, but you can't afford it because you lost your job or whatever it is. Right? $5 a month, I can go down to do that, right? So I'm supposed to offer a sliding scale instead of trying to squeeze out of people. So those are
the first question then you ask when you go see a therapist.
They don't.
Because you know that person really wants to help you out no matter what.
Right? And that's the thing. There's so many hidden things. Now, listen, for the therapists I know, people that have guided me, like Melissa Melly, she's been phenomenal for me. If you sit with her, like, the first thing she'll say is, look, just, find out where they are. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm lucky enough to get good advice.
Right.
On how you treat people with, like, I have all this knowledge and stuff to do with it, but it's not many people are talking about the advice. I mean, how much you charge and, like, what's ethical and that kind of stuff.
And because she's good too, you're able to actually, pass it down the line to other people as well. You have your certifications, but
which I wouldn't have had without her, honestly. So shout out to Melissa Malley, by the way. If you don't want to deal with me, then deal with her. But anyway, so if you're dealing with, and this is kind of in America only, sorry, I don't know anything about in Ireland, or if you listen to another country, I don't know what your equivalent of this is, but this is public knowledge, not common knowledge. If you're going to your school, so let's say your son is in school, in primary school, which is what's after
preschool, kindergarten.
You're in kindergarten, preschool, which are not official schools, right? They're not.
Well, kindergarten it's elementary school.
Okay, so right. So from kindergarten, elementary, high school,
it goes middle
secondary.
School, junior.
Right.
Yeah, we have all these stages.
There is, so you have a problem with your kid, and you go to the school and go, look, my son is getting bullied, my daughter's getting bullied, and they go, okay, let's fix this, and then they call the bully in, blah, 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 blah. Nothing happens. It keeps happening. Look, I went, right? Now you can go in and you can be, all right, you listen, here's what you do. This is what I would say. Give me the address, please, of the kids, the parents. I want to speak to the kids' parents. They won't do that, right? Because it could be a lawsuit and not give you that information. Yeah. So here's what you do. If you're dealing with an issue in your house, in your life, where your child is being bullied in a school in America, and they're not doing what you want them to do, you tell them at the school, you tell them, you do not ask them, write this down, get a pen. I want to speak to your DASA representative, right? DASA is, I'm trying to blank on the letters. I'll give it to you in a second.
Okay.
It's basically an organization that is obliged. So if you threaten them with that, right, they're designed to look into any kid that's been mishandled at their school. Not one school wants a case against them from DASA, even an inquiry.
This is all news to me.
Even an inquiry to DASA. And every school has a representative, right? Every school could be the principal, could be the vice principal, could be the fucking gym teacher, could be anyone on that chain of command is a DASA representative. If you sit down and say, can I speak to your DASA representative? You watch. I would be highly surprised if they do not fix that problem right away. And sometimes they'll go like, oh, like they tried it with my son. Well, what we'll do is we'll move his schedule. No. Fuck that. Why are you moving him?
Right.
Why is he being separated at lunchtime? Why is he, because my son went through an issue recently. Why is he being separated? Why do you want to change his schedule? They're like, well, you're asking for us to deal with the problem. No, I am. But I'm asking you to deal with this kid who's bullying my son.
Right.
Now, I try to talk to my son about it too, right? I talk to my son too. But that's not to turn, when people say turn the other cheek, you cannot do that with bullies.
Right.
You cannot do it. I'm sorry. And I know you're probably listening, well, that's not good advice. It's not advice.
They're not turning the other cheek.
It's not advice. They're not doing it, right? Yep. All you're doing is, well, I turned the other cheek and it still didn't work.
Right.
So now your self-esteem goes even lower and just lower, and it doesn't stop.
And it doesn't end at school.
It doesn't end because now your self-esteem. So
it's social media now.
Yeah, to turn the other cheek just means like, hey, just continue to fucking do what you want. Do you want to me, right? So you can explain to your kid, which I did with my son, because like the kid's bully. Once my son's like, yeah, and he does this and he does that and he does like really, and then you listen to the story of this kid who tells like his mother has, I think, 4 boyfriends in the same year that comes and lives with the house. And now I'm not saying there's anything bad happening, by the way.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. But that's a kid that's got no structure.
Yep.
Anytime a male comes into the house, he's gone again in a few months. So of course this kid is messed up. But you know what? Sadly, that's not my son's problem. Right. I sympathize with I tell my son to empathize, to sympathize, but he's not your problem.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Like it is tough.
Yep.
It's like I've seen stuff that has worked in the past, which I never would advise. I've heard of cases where if your son's getting bullied by someone in school and the second they get on the bus, just go, hey man, you want to sit next to me? Right? Because apparently it shows the bully that you're flipping the switch and like, hey, look, I'm not afraid of you.
Yeah.
But if that's a big ask.
That's a huge ask.
When I saw that therapist talk about that one
time. The day before he was
right. But it's not even that. Like you're assuming the kid has that confidence. Go, hey man, why don't you sit next to me? Because if you're the bully, you're probably thinking like, this kid's terrified of me. He's kissing my ass right now. He's only sucking up to me.
Yep.
Going back to DASA, sorry. Demand to speak right there and then. Just like, okay, that's fine, not a problem. I understand you've done as much as you can do, but can I speak to your DASA representative, please? And you just watch them shit their pants. Because not one school, because it affects their budget. It affects everything to have a DASA complaint against them, and they do not want it.
I've never heard of this.
Of course you haven't, because it's not common knowledge. It's not when you sign your kid up for school where they go, all right, and here's this, that, the other. This Miss Merkel is going to be the music teacher. Yep. This one's going to teach him geography. That's your DASA representation if you ever don't think we're doing a good job or not. You know what I mean? They're not going to offer that up.
Right.
They might have it somewhere in some
like the
fine
secret
print.
menu.
It might be on a tiny little fine print.
Yep.
Somewhere in the building.
This is good to know. I'm glad you brought this up.
On an email.
I really am.
Let me lean over and get my phone because the DASA thing is in there. So sorry.
No problem.
Because I really want to give the right information out, and I don't want. But this is the thing that they I don't want to be the guy who just gets his phone, because I have it here. Yeah, DASA, it is the dignity of all students, which is the dignity of all students is what DASA, which is the rest of it's in Spanish,
Right.
Which is it's an organization that's designed that if the school isn't handling,
Yep.
like
They'll
I
come
said,
in and
the Dignity of All Students Act. That's what it is. And if you know if it's an act, it's a federal. Right? Like when you work in banks, there's FDIC Act. There's money laundering act. It's all an act. Right?
So when this group comes in, when you contact this group, do they come into the school? Do they go to the bully's house and see what's going on there?
No, the school has to fix that fucking problem.
Right.
So instead of sweeping on the rug and going, boys will be boys or girls will be girls. That happens. They're just, these two go at it every day. And it's like, you're looking at these two kids maybe at one level of it. You don't know what goes on when they turn the corner, when they leave that room, what goes on at the break time, at lunchtime, at the tables. You don't know at what level, even up to even to high school, right? You don't know what gets said on social media about them, which is we haven't even got into that.
No.
Which I don't even think we should. That's even more poisonous. That's more toxic. But these people who are getting just getting just destroyed, and the teacher or whatever who doesn't want to deal with it, doesn't want to deal with the report. They'll just go, look at these kids. Boys will be boys, which is a big thing. And like anytime my son's been in the wrong, I go, why did you say that? Like, just keep your mouth shut next time. Keep your mouth shut. He got in trouble one time. Not in trouble, but my son was like, he said something. He was like, why? Well, because I told the teacher. He goes, okay, so what happened? He was like, well, he did, like, that had nothing to do with you. Right. You told on somebody because he was doing something with his friend, right? And they were maybe looking at something on a phone. They weren't including anybody. They were by themselves doing something they shouldn't be doing. They weren't hurting you. They weren't hurting the school. They weren't they were disobeying the rules, but like, shut up.
Mind your business there.
You know what I mean? That's got nothing to do with you. I didn't say shut up to him, of course, but I'm like, like, you got to pick your battles, right? So these are things that I will never, like, so then the kid said something, whatever it is. So that's not my son's fault. He doesn't deserve to get fucking bullied from it.
No.
But that's when boys will be boys or whatever you want to say, right? But if you feel the school is not doing anything about it, definitely just ask them straight out, hey, can I speak to your DASA rep? They will shit their pants on the spot, problem solved right there and then. I mean, it's supposed to be.
This is great information.
Yeah,
everybody.
I'm telling you,
it's really
it's just they're the worst. They're the worst. And man, like I said, bullying, it goes from the cradle to the grave. It just doesn't stop.
And it's learned from the cradle. Yeah, without a doubt.
It's hurt people, and
it's the parenting. I will.
Or lack thereof.
And parenting, and they're watching videos and they're seeing things like this. And they're like, then they just start acting out and doing that. But any kid, I mean, kids should just be kids. They should just want to play and be friends, and that's when you're taught that, and you're in the right household, and then all of a sudden you go to school and you're being bullied, and you're like, this isn't. What's this? And that's it. Hurt me when I even got a call from the school that he did that, because I'm like, he never does this. And and the school doesn't give you the information.
Everything you hate too.
It's everything I hate. Yeah. So they don't give you the information, but I called back and told them a couple things to say to the parents for me when they talk to them, just to know that we're upset about it as well. Yeah. Because your kid comes home with a mark, you're like, who the fuck did that? It's a piece of shit. Its parents must, and that's not the case.
It's not the case at all.
Kids still make a mistake
in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, and that's what they were excited and playing and whatever, and he did it. But it just, I never want him to become that.
Yeah.
And
it's just keeping an eye on it. It's not keeping an eye on it.
I don't want him to not stick up for himself, but I don't want him to.
And there's the fine line. But like I said, I think it doesn't necessarily have to. You don't have to teach your kid to fight, right? You don't have to. Like, you and I box, right? So we have the opportunity, and we're good enough to teach our kids the basics,
right?
That most kids won't know. But it's not about building yourself up. I mean, listen, it's great. I'm not saying you got to teach your kid to fight, but like, even if it's been proven that if you even teach a bully how to fight, people are like, why would you teach a bully to fight? To hit him better, harder? Well, then the bully's confidence gets built up so much that he doesn't need to bully anymore. No. So there is that side of it too.
And putting them around situations like that, like boxing, you have the bully and the bullied in there, and they become friends, and they bond over something.
If they're together, right, they can bond together. But usually, it's usually about building yourself up in confidence. So if the bully is confident, like, holy shit, I'm doing boxing, I'm really good. If I'm playing sport, I'm really good. If there's
mentally,
even if he's in a science club, even if he's in a robotics club, even if he's in a fucking Lego club, even if he joins a theater in the school and he becomes really good at something, his confidence builds up that he doesn't need to take somebody
that
down.
He's not getting at home, right? So it's like
it's the same thing with our kids, just and with us as people. Build yourselves up so to the point, like I said, read, exercise. I'm not even saying get fit. I'm saying exercise. read, get your mind strong, get your body strong,
Yep.
watch who you hang out with, build yourself up to be so confident, to not arrogant, but like to believe in yourself so much that nobody can take that down. Nobody can tear that down. And if it does happen, if you do see bullies in the workplace or in school, like it's not about grabbing them and slapping against the wall. Fucking report it. Get it on file. Air their dirty laundry. You know, get it on file. There's no, again, this goes back to us being as men afraid and ashamed to talk about things.
The tattletale.
There's no shame, man. That's another thing too. Like, you know, those old school, like, and I've heard comedians on stage do these jokes about bullies and that kind of stuff. Yeah, because or like I said, your dad might do it, my dad might do it, and the neighbor or the older guy or your friends might do it. Yeah, because now it's only now the studies are starting to come out about the effects of this shit. Yeah, because I said we're going back to the 80s when we only started really looking at it. So it's all like they're all hippie bullshit. No, man, it's brand new. It's all brand new. We're only learning about the effects of it. 20 years later, people are killing themselves from shit that happened to them in school.
More than that they ever have. Younger kids.
Kids are killing themselves. You know, it's getting that bad.
And I know we had that whole conversation about that and say it's a selfish thing, but when kids are doing it, it's not. It's not a selfish thing because kids don't understand they're being selfish. When you read a story that some 11-year-old girl hung herself because she was getting bullied, that's not a selfish. That's something that needs to be fucking fixed.
Like I said, and again, if you're worried about your child,
it all needs to be fixed.
And you don't, you know, talk to them. Please talk to your kids. Sometimes they keep it to themselves and say nothing. If you know, just find out what's going on. How's the school? How was the journey? How was the bus ride? Who's your friends? I asked my son, who's your friend at school? What do you talk about? Like all the time, and you will find if you dig deep enough, without being intrusive, you will get information from your kid to know if something's going on. If something's going on, you just deal with it. You deal with it right away. You don't take chances on it. Find out who the DASA guy is or girl is, and just mention that name. And I'm telling you, all doors will open up for you. But as an adult, do not be afraid to report somebody for bullying, for think they're better than you.
And I might put a link in the description too for people for the DASA.
It's for American. It's American school only. American schools. It's a federal act that came out. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. Do you have anything else you want to cover on?
No,
I hope I did. I hope I didn't leave anything out for people out there who was like, yeah, but how do you deal with it? I'm sorry.
And if we did, email us.
Please do. I'll be more than happy
if we have to do another part 2 to this, of course we will.
Yeah, we'll do a part 2, or we'll do a whole email section where we just answer questions.
Yeah, that would be great about the different topics.
Right. If anything quickly we can touch on. If you need any help at all, guys, again, please feel free to reach out. And as always, you know, if you talk to somebody, seek mental health. I keep saying this mental help. I keep talk about BetterHelp all the time. I can't talk about them enough. They're not a sponsor of the show. They should be soon. Hopefully, it'd be nice. We'd love to get them on board. But if it's affordable,
and this is personal.
Yeah.
This isn't an act of portrayal. This is something that you've actually used, a service you've used that's helped you.
Yeah, and it's funny thing is like I'm now qualified and I'm sending you elsewhere. You know what I mean? Like that's how much I believe in this product.
Yep.
It's like if you were a painter and I was like, yeah, come paint my house. Yeah, but you should see Corey does a way better job than me.
It's good. That's what I mean. You're being honest, man. People gotta respect that. You're very helpful.
No, I appreciate that.
You know, and this has been good for me. I mean, I've never aired out this to really anybody, especially.
You're going to edit it out?
So I'm going to edit it all out. It's going to be a long quietness.
It's just like, school was awesome.
School was great for me. Yep.
Anyway, thanks so much for listening, everybody. Like I said, find us, like us, subscribe, share, give us a comment, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yep.
Doesn't help you, but it helps us with algorithms
thumbs down, please.
And stuff. Well, if you want to,
yeah, let us know. And then once again, it's email us at ihavemanxiety.com, at ihavemanxiety on Instagram. Send us messages. We'd love to hear some feedback. And I think we got to address some of the emails too next show that we got.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
Cheers, everybody. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.